Hello everyone, welcome back to Ilium Biology. Let's proceed with our discussions. Today we are going to discuss about our lymphoid organs that are present in the body. First of all, what are lymphoid organs? As the name suggests, these are the organs which are associated with the lymphocytes. So these are called as lymphoid organs. Those organs where formation, maturation, proliferation and differentiation of lymphocytes occur. Now I'll differentiate between these four words. Formation means you very well know, to form something. Maturation is maturation of lymphocytes. See, these are immature lymphocytes. They first undergo maturation and then they form mature lymphocytes. Now, what is the difference between a mature lymphocyte and an immature lymphocyte? A mature lymphocyte will respond to an antigen, but an immature lymphocyte will never respond to an antigen. So, the place where maturation occurs. Proliferation means division and differentiation means how the lymphocytes, B cells, differentiate into plasma B cells and differentiate into memory B cells. Similarly, how T cells differentiate into cytotoxic T cells, helper T cells, suppressor T cells or memory T cells. In case you don't know the differences between these kinds of cells, or if you don't know the concept of memory cells or T cytotoxic cells, helper cells, then you should first watch our videos on the CMI and AMI. Then only you will come to learn about these things. I'll describe lymphoid organs in two different categories. There are two types of lymphoid organs: primary lymphoid organs and secondary lymphoid organs. See, primary lymphoid organs, as the name suggests, has got the primary role. That means the main role. So these are the organs where formation and maturation of lymphocyte will take place. And as I told you earlier, in maturation what happens? Immature lymphocytes become antigen sensitive. Now after maturation, when lymphocytes are exposed to any antigen, then they will produce antibodies and effector cells against them. So they become antigen sensitive. In secondary lymphoid organs, there is proliferation and differentiation of lymphocytes. And here, as I told you, in differentiation what happens? T cells differentiate into its four different types: cytotoxic, helper, memory and suppressor. T cells and B cells differentiate into what? Plasma B cells and memory B cells. So that's why they are called as secondary lymphoid organs. So proliferation and differentiation is a function of secondary lymphoid organ, and formation and maturation is a function of primary lymphoid organs. After forming and maturing in primary lymphoid organs, these lymphocytes will now move towards secondary lymphoid organs. Examples, as we very well know, there are only two sites in your body where formation and maturation of lymphocytes take place, and that is bone marrow and thymus. And secondary lymphoid organ examples include lymph nodes, spleen and mucosa associated lymphoid tissue. Now in this video I'll be having a discussion on thymus, then I'll discuss spleen, lymph nodes, spleen and mucosa associated lymphoid tissue. Bone marrow, we are having a discussion in the chapter of osteology, so we will not be explaining this thing here. First of all, I'll discuss about thymus, the primary lymphoid organ. A very good thing to notice about thymus is during our birth, at birth, the weight of thymus is around 10 gram to 35 gram, but after your birth there is an initial increase in the weight of thymus, but after that there is a progressive decline in the weight of the thymus, and in an elderly age there is progressive involution of thymus, and your thymus remains at the weight of 5 to 10 grams. That means your organ has come back to its initial weight, and that is what is called as involution. Involution basically means a retrograde change, a type of change in which you revert back to what was present earlier. That means coming back to your initial state is something called as involution. And in biology, involution of any organ means if there is shrinkage of an organ and the normal tissue of that organ with time is replaced by the fibrous tissue. That means the normal tissue which was carrying out all the functions of that particular organ is replaced by fibrous tissue, and fibrous tissue now no more carry out the same function that was carried out by the normal tissue of that particular organ. That is called as involution, and there is progressive involution of thymus in the body. If I talk about the location, thymus is present beneath the sternum, as you can see in this picture. Sternum is your chest bone, and beneath that sternum there is thymus, and as you can see in this figure, thymus has got two lobes, right lobe and left lobe, and even these lobes are further divided into lobules by presence of septa. What are septa? Septa are dividing walls that divides something into its further divisions, and when lobes are divided by septa, lobules are formed. If you want to see the exact location, then look at this picture. This is the right lung, this is the left lung, this is the heart, and above the heart you can very well appreciate two lobes of thymus gland. And in this figure you can easily appreciate the two lobes, right lobe and left lobe, and you can see lobules present on the surface because of the presence of septa. Basically two types of cells are present in thymus. The one is the lymphocytes, which are called as thymocytes, and the other is epithelial cells, which are present on the surface of the thymus. Histologically, we can divide thymus gland into two parts, cortex and medulla. As we read in ovary, kidney, adrenal gland, the outer part is cortex and the inner part is medulla. You can look out at here. I am drawing the demarcating line. Now outside this line, the structure is called as cortex, and inside this line there is medulla. So the entire tissue inside these lines is the medullary tissue of thymus, and outside it is called as cortex. A very important thing to study here is Hessel's corpuscles or thymic corpuscles, which are present scattered in the medulla of the thymus. You can see these corpuscles present in the medulla. Now what are Hessel's corpuscle? See, Hessel corpuscles, if I look under the microscope, it looks like onion peels, skin of the onion. These are basically concentric circles of epithelial tissue, and in between those circles there are multiple lymphocytes and macrophages which are entangled in between those epithelial cells, and this arrangement of concentric circles of epithelial cells plus lymphocytes and macrophages is called as Hessel's corpuscles. So this is a figure of Hessel's corpuscles. Now I'll have a discussion on lymph nodes. Lymph nodes, as you can see in this figure, all these green vessels that you are appreciating in this figure are actually lymphatic vessels, and in the course of the lymphatic vessels you can very well appreciate some node like structures here. These green dot like structures, these are all lymph nodes, and you can very well see the number of lymph nodes that are present in the body. From head to toe there are many lymph nodes that are present in the body. Now how these lymph nodes function? See, this is a lymph node, and these are lymphatic vessels which carry lymph towards lymph node. Remember, lymphatic vessels has lymph, they don't have blood. So these are the vessels that will carry lymph from lymphatic vessels into the lymph node, so they are called as efferent lymphatic vessels. You must have heard this word efferent in kidney. There is an efferent arteriole which brings blood to the nephron, and in the same way we have called these lymphatic vessels as the efferent lymphatic vessels, because these are getting lymph towards the lymph node. And there are some other vessels which are called as efferent lymphatic vessels, through which this lymph would exit. So lymph would enter from efferent lymphatic vessels, would get into lymph nodes, and then from lymph nodes it would exit via efferent lymphatic vessels. And what would happen inside lymph node? We very well know lymph node is a huge collection of lymphocytes. It has many lymphocytes present in it. So whatever pathogens, whatever toxins and whatever dead cells that are present in the lymph that have been collected from the tissue. Remember, lymph is formed from tissue fluid. So everything, every antigen, every pathogen, or the toxins produced by the pathogen or dead cells which are present in the tissue fluid would then enter the lymphatic vessels, and from lymphatic vessels they would get into lymph nodes, and there are many lymphocytes which are present in the lymph nodes. These lymphocytes would act on all of them, would act on toxins, would act on pathogens, would act on antigens, and would act on dead cells, and they will clean them up. So basically lymph node acts for the purification of lymph that runs through your lymphatic vessels. And we very well know the lymph from the lymphatic vessels would ultimately reach to the vein, that means would get into the blood. So anything that is present inside the tissue which is not required by the body would enter into the lymph, would get into the lymph node, would be cleaned up there, and then that would be drained into the blood. So that helps us to avoid any infection from reaching from the tissue directly into the blood. Because if any infection, see, if I am having an infection in the skin, if this infection directly reaches to my blood, the blood would propagate the entire infection into the entire body. So that's why these lymph nodes are very compulsory in the body, and they perform a very vital function. So that's how lymph nodes work in the body. Now I'll talk about spleen. Spleen, it's a bean-shaped organ which is present just left to the stomach. You can very well see in this figure. See, this triangular organ is liver, this is esophagus, and this is stomach. Now just left to the stomach you can appreciate a colored body here, a bean-shaped body. This is called as spleen, and the spleen basically is a reservoir of lymphocytes, many macrophages, and a huge amount of fresh RBCs. After the formation of RBCs in the bone marrow, some fresh RBCs move directly into the spleen, and whenever there is an emergency in the body and your body needs fresh RBCs, then spleen contracts and send these RBCs directly into the body system, and that's why the spleen is called as blood bank of body, because it helps body in the emergency situations. Plus it has got lymphocytes and macrophages, so whatever blood enters into the spleen, anything, any antigen, pathogen, or any toxin present in the blood would get into the spleen, and the spleen and the lymphocytes and macrophages present in them would clean up the entire blood. So as lymph nodes act in the purification of lymph, similarly spleen helps in the purification of blood. Other than that, spleen is called as graveyard of RBCs. We very well know the age of an RBC. An RBC survives for 120 days, but what happens to them after 120 days? When their life is over, they reach to the spleen, and spleen then destroy these RBCs. So these spleen is called as graveyard of RBCs, and plus it performs blood filtration by trapping and destroying blood-borne microbes and dead cells. Every microbe, dead cell, pathogen, toxin, antigens present in blood is purified by the spleen. Next, discussing about mucosa associated lymphoid tissue. As the name suggests, this is the lymphoid tissue which is associated with the mucous membranes or the mucosa. Now the mucosa of respiratory tract, the gastrointestinal tract, that means alimentary canal, and urinogenital tract, all of them has got lymphoid tissue in their mucosa which is called as MALT. And it is very surprising to know that more than 50% of the lymphoid tissue of the body is formed by mucosa associated lymphoid tissue. As you can see in this picture, this I'll show you with a different color here. This is mucosa, this is mucosa, this entire portion is mucosa, and this is the connective tissue present beneath the mucosa. This one is the connective tissue. Now this entire, wait, I'll choose a different color here. This entire tissue, as you can see in this figure, this is a huge collection of lymphocytes, and this is called as mucosa associated lymphoid tissue. Now on the basis of the mucosa in which they are present, we can categorize them into different categories. The first one is nasal associated lymphoid tissue, NALT. Nasal means the nasal tract, the nasal tract. Second is bronchus associated lymphoid tissue, the lymphoid tissue associated with bronchi and bronchioles. Gut associated lymphoid tissue, gut means your alimentary canals, so that's alimentary canal associated lymphoid tissue. and the lymphoid tissue which is associated with genitourinary system, that means your genital tract and your urinary tract. So these are 4 different types of MALT which is present in the body. Let's have a good discussion on NALT, nasal associated lymphoid tissue. This is the lymphoid tissue which is present in the nasal passage and the throat, and the best example that we would discuss here is the presence of tonsils. So what are tonsils? This is just a collection of lymphocytes. Now in the first figure, this is the normal tonsils. Now in this figure you can very well appreciate this is palate, this is uvula, and this is palate. Now look behind this soft palate here, this part. You can appreciate a small enlarged structure here. This is tonsil. Right and left 2 tonsils are present. These are called as palatine tonsils because they are present just posterior to the palate, so called as palatine tonsils. Now in case there is any infection in the surroundings, these tonsils would get inflamed. Why would they get inflamed? Because whenever there would be any pathogen or any infection there would be a huge increase in the number of lymphocytes present in the tonsils. Now because of the increase in the number of lymphocytes, there would be an enlargement, there would be an inflammation of tonsils. Now as you can see, appreciate in this picture, you can see enlarged tonsils. In the previous picture, in the normal tonsils they were not that much enlarged, but here they are very much enlarged. So these are inflamed tonsils because of infection, and they clearly suggest that there is some infection present here. Now why tonsils become important? Because these are associated, they have to fight with any infection that might reach to them via your oral cavity. Whatever you eat will enter your body through the oral cavity, so there might be some pathogens or toxins present inside them, and whatever you breathe, there might be some antigens, there might be some allergens, there might be some pathogens in that particular air. So lymph nodes, the tonsils would take care of both of them. Now gut associated lymphoid tissue, the lymphoid tissue which is associated with gastrointestinal tract, the alimentary canal, and the first thing to discuss in this is Peyer's patches which is present in ileum, and then I would have a good discussion on vermiform appendix. Ileum is the last part of the small intestine. The first one is the duodenum, then duodenum, and then comes ileum. So as you can very well appreciate in this figure, there are some blue colored structures that are present there. These are Peyer's patches. Remember, this is just to make you learn the location of the Peyer's patches. Peyer's patches are not present on the surface of the intestine. They are not present outside the ileum. They are associated with the mucosa which is present in the internal wall. Look at here. This is the mucosa. We very well know about ileum, that ileum has got multiple villi in them so that they can increase the rate of absorption. So these are the villi. This is the mucosa, the entire mucosa. Mucosa only forms villi. The layer below this is the connective tissue part, and all these structures, these is the collection of lymphocytes which is called as Peyer's patches. Now where is appendix present? We very well know. This is the large intestine. Now look at this picture. I am enlarging this view. From here, large intestine starts. The first part of large intestine is cecum. This is the cecum, and associated with cecum there is a small structure which is called as vermiform appendix. Now vermiform appendix used to perform a role in digestion in our ancestors. So it had a role at that time, but at the present times appendix has got no role in digestion. So that's why we call appendix as a waste organ. But appendix has got lymphocytes in it and acts as a lymphoid tissue in the body. So that's it. That's all about the lymphoid organs. Thanks a lot for watching us. If still you have any kind of doubts, you can ask us in comment section. Thank you very much for watching us.